Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. My name's Cinderellimouse and today I'm going to be looking at the Essential Glam Kit by Cryptic Sims, and this is courtesy of the EA Creator Network, who do provide me with codes for the Sims 4 packs. Thank you very much to them. This is a makeup kit and I have a variety of Sims that I've made with different skin colours, different ethnicities, different facial features, different genders, so that we can have a look at this makeup kit and see, does it suit everybody? Does it look good on every skin tone? What kind of styles can I do with it? So let's take a quick look through some of the new items. One thing that I think people might miss is that there is a sneaky little skin detail under faces, which are these freckles here. Now I really like these. We have quite a lot of freckles with a lot of different packs, so we have a range of really good options, but these ones that come with the new kit are very pretty. I like the spread of them across the face. I like that you have a light, medium and dark option. I just think they're very natural looking and very, very nice. I'm probably going to use these quite a lot, but I wanted to point them out to you because they're not included under makeup like all the other items are. So we're going to get 6 eyeshadows. One thing I want to say as we flick through these is some of these are extremely bold. Again, it's the Essential Glam Kit, so some of them do look very, very saturated. So I don't know if some of you are going to be like, oh, that's a bit much for me. I want to kind of reassure you that you can kind of play with the saturation, kind of tone it down a little bit, you know, play with the brightness, brighten things up, and then use the opacity sliders as well to create something that feels a lot more natural. If you feel like the initial color palette is a bit too bold, just know that you can do a lot. It's actually a very flexible kit, and you can create quite a lot of looks. They are adaptable. But going back into kind of what we're going to get, so you get this very bright kind of crayon effect eyeshadow. You get this one which feels like a kind of foil effect. This one which gives a gorgeous smoky eye that kind of gets a bit darker towards the edges with that winged effect. This one which is extremely bold and glam. I love it so much. This one which has a darkening effect on the inner eye. Some of you may look at that and think, oh, I don't really know how to use that, but don't worry, I'm going to give you some ideas. And then this one which is kind of more of a subtle glitter effect just on the lids. So going through as well, we also get some new eyeliners. We get these very bold, like almost like pointy wing effects. I really, really love these. This one's a bit more smoky. That wing is quite dramatic as well, but I think they are stunning. I'm probably going to use these more than any other of the wing liners in the game, just because it looks so neat, it looks so crisp, it looks so beautiful. I wish I could do this in real life, but those wings would be up and down and everywhere. I wouldn't be able to get them even. I'd say that we also have this wing effect as well, which is just kind of like the top lash. I think it's a really nice curve. It looks good on most Sims and most eye shapes. What I would say is that these two look kind of similar to what we already have in the base game. Nothing too exciting about those two, but they do come in useful. So I think these three are the 3 winners in this pack. There's no new eyelashes, which I'm quite surprised about, because when I had a bit of a browse through Cryptic Sims profile and their Twitter and the Patreon, I did notice that they use a lot of CC eyelashes in when they're creating Sims, so it's something that I would have expected, but it's okay that it's not here. There could have been complications, I don't know, I'm just guessing, but it's fine. I think the things that you do get in this kit are really worthwhile, so I'm not too bothered about that. You get some new blushes, which I think these are really nice, especially compared to the base game blushes, because if I just kind of show you what I mean, the base game blushes kind of have this quite saturated kind of full cheek effect, and these new ones sit more on the apple of the cheek, which I find a little bit more useful. It's kind of more of a targeted colour, so they're really nice to have. Let me just reapply that kit filter. And yeah, if you're a little bit nervous, if you're kind of like, oh, I'm not quite sure how to use these makeups, I've done quite a few different looks for all these different Sims, and I'll kind of show you the process and talk you through how I created each look, if that's something that you're looking for later in the video. So yeah, and again, like that's very, very saturated, but you can just go in with the opacity slider and make something that feels a little bit more subtle, a little bit more natural if you want to. Yeah, that's really cool. You also get this one, which again sits nicely on the apples of the cheeks there. This is the one that I'm most excited about because it goes right across the nose, and this is something that I've kind of wanted in the game quite a lot. In general, actually, I've really wanted makeup kits, and I'm quite excited that we're finally getting those. I'd love to see more with like different trends. I do find this to be almost like a Western kind of glam superstar style, like an Instagram famous bold glamour filter style pack, and I'd love to see a variety of different makeup trends from like different places around the world going forward in the future. But yeah, this one where we get the kind of the nose blush, I think is super cute. It just kind of looks like you've been out in the sun and you've got the sun a little bit on your face. Again, you can play around with the saturation on these. You can make it brighter, darker. I think it's really nice as a background to those freckles as well. Just makes the face look more interesting. And again, I would love to see more contouring, different placement of blush, different highlighters going forward kind of in the future of The Sims, because I find it really useful. I don't personally use very much CC or mods in my game, even though I'm previously a mod and CC creator. I find that my game runs better if I'm not constantly chasing my tail and updating my mods, so I try to minimize the amount that I have. So to get more makeup options in game that kind of rival those CC options that I see outside of the game, very, very happy to have them. Going over to lips here, we get 8 options for lips, and I think the good thing about this pack is that it kind of goes above and beyond what we already have. So even though some things are of a similar style to what we've already seen, I think this kit does it a little bit better. One thing that I've noticed is that the lips fit pretty much every lip shape. You can see here that her lips, she's kind of got, she hasn't really got the Cupid's bow, but applying these lipsticks, because of the way the lipstick goes over the edges of the lip and creates a new lip line, it just kind of looks good on every single Sim, no matter what their lip shape is. And again, you get such a great range of options here. You know, there's something for everybody in this pack. I think this is probably one of my favorites, this really, really natural gloss look, because I think some of the base game glosses look like overly shiny. It's kind of like an all over shine all over the lip, which has this kind of messy look, where this just looks a little bit like you've got a little tiny bit in the bottom of your lower lip, a little tiny bit on the top lip, and it just creates a very pretty natural look, which I think is very, very gorgeous. I also really love this one here, which reminds me actually when I was a big CC user in my Sims 2 days. I think there was quite a lot of this on the Sims resource, this kind of style. It's almost like a jelly lip, which I think is really, really cute. So excited to have that in my game as well. Yeah, some really gorgeous looks there. Going down to face paint, so you're going to get 4 new face paints. Technically this one here is like moles, and again, it would have been interesting to have had the freckles in the face paint category, because I know there's a beauty trend on TikTok where girls will go in with kind of like an eyeliner pencil and they'll kind of dot on false freckles, so it would have been cool to have applied freckles as makeup, but like in a similar way to these moles, there's a different kind of spread of the moles with the different swatches. You can kind of pick different ones, which again I think is great for making unique Sims, so that not all your Sims have like a perfect kind of blurred out skin texture. You actually get some skin detail, which I think is very, very welcome. And then one thing I love about this as well, again, is like you can play with that opacity filter and create a much lighter effect. I'm a very freckly, moly person, and some of my moles are very, very dark and pronounced, and some are barely visible. So being able to go in and kind of like make them really dark or like a lot lighter, a lot more natural looking, I think is really, really lovely to be able to do. We also have some new highlighters. They're kind of hard to see on this sim. I'll kind of show you them again on some of the darker skin tones. But yeah, you can go in, you can adjust the hue, adjust the saturation. So there you go, it's gone a little bit more pinky now. If you're going to try and do a certain makeup effect, you can absolutely do that. But yeah, this is just kind of brightening the under eye or creating some definition. I kind of like flick through and show you some of those. Some of them highlight the chin as well, and then here as well, like, can you even see this? There you go. So this is a bit of highlighter on the upper cheek, the inner eye, and on the nose. I really, really love the highlighter that we got from, let me just find it, this one here that was patched to the game, and it was by a CC creator called Peachy Fairy. I use this one all the time. I think it's really, really useful, very pretty. So I'm very, very excited to get more options for highlighter in the game. I think this is something that I'm going to use quite often. Okay, so going to her before and afters, and then kind of talking you through how I created these effects. So this is her before, and then this is her after, and you can really see the difference. I think this she's kind of a university student. She's quite idealistic, she's a bit kind of dark academia, and I think this is a really sexy look for her. You know, you can see her sat outside a coffee shop or browsing kind of the halls of the old library, and again, just kind of showing you the difference there. This is kind of fresh faced, no makeup, and then this is kind of that dressy makeup look. It does still look quite natural, it looks quite understated, so I really, really love this. And then going in and showing you how I created this look. So the eyeshadow I use is this one here, and jumping over, I can show you how this is quite a dark look, but I just went in and kind of like changed the opacity a little bit to create something that felt a little bit less dramatic, something that just looks a little bit lighter, a little bit more like day wear. And then the eyeliner that I've used is this one here, the one with only the top. So going across, I can show you how that looks, and that's actually quite a browny color. So I think actually I went in and kind of adjusted the brightness to make it look a little bit darker while still being that kind of like dark brown. It's not as dramatic as a plain black would be. Going into her blush, then I've used this one here, and I can jump across. It's the one where you get the nose detail. I think I went for something like this, and then again just played around with the opacity. I think I made it slightly less saturated and slightly darker, trying to just make it look a bit more natural, a bit more browny. Oh no, so it is quite red actually still. Let me just go in and readjust. Something like that one. There you go. I think that's more along the right lines. And then going down to her lips, so again I just use this really natural colour, very, very pretty much out of the box. I don't think I did much to that. Maybe I made it ever so slightly more saturated, just adding a little bit more colour to her lips. And then did I use... no, I didn't use any of the face paint. Again, I was trying to keep it quite natural, but that's more or less how I did that look. Maybe I could make the eyeshadow a little bit darker perhaps. So about there, which I think is a really pretty kind of autumnal look, but that's kind of how to create that effect. Okay, taking that makeup off, again making her fresh faced, and I'll show you a different look that I created for her. So this is a very bold glam look. I feel like this would be great for an art student or somebody who's going to maybe a bit maybe the theatre or something like that. You know, it feels like quite an arty look. Now this is not my favorite look. It's a little bit too bold for me personally. I don't think I'd use this on very many sims, but if this is a look you're interested in, I'll show you how I created it. So you can see I've used this very kind of like crayon style eyeshadow, and I've created a custom colour. So I went ahead and went to the blue, and then I changed the hue to make it more of a kind of like greeny colour. And then I just played around with like the saturation and the brightness to create something that felt a little bit darker than kind of what we initially had. So yeah, I show you that. The eyeshadow I've used is this one here again, which I think is a bit of a favorite of mine apparently. Let's go for a black there though to really create that bold look. The lipstick that I've used is this one here, and I basically took the base color and made it a little bit darker, so I'll show you how to do that. Again, kind of like looking at her hair color, but making it just a little bit darker. It's kind of like the darker colors of her hair. Something like that, I think, is pretty much how I had it. Again, I've used that nose contouring, the nose blush, in a kind of darker, kind of natural shade, just turning down the opacity a bit there, and that is pretty much how I created that look. Actually, do you know what? That's a lot more browny, isn't it? So like that, like this, and then saturation down perhaps. Maybe brightness down. Yeah, I think it's like brightness down, saturation up a little bit. But again, you can play with this and get it in a way that you like it. You don't have to do it exactly as I'm doing it, you know, whatever looks good to you. I feel like that created more of a background to her freckles. Rather than it being a blush, it kind of just blurred the freckles a little bit and just added a bit of skin detail, which I thought was quite nice. Rather than having makeup all over the face and being too much makeup, it just kind of allows the lips and the eyeshadow to do the talking. So going back off there then, taking away that one, and I'll show you the third look that she has, which is this one here, which I think is more of like a summery kind of daywear look than the kind of dramatic smoky look that she had over here. So this one is, let's have a look at which eyeshadow I use, this kind of peachy color one here. So going in and finding something that kind of looks kind of how I want it. I think I made it slightly more saturated, but lighter, did I? Less saturated, so it's more of a skin color. And then went ahead and like brought the opacity down like this, which again just gives it kind of almost like a shine to the eyes, rather than it looking like there's too much eyeshadow on there. It's a little bit darker, I feel, isn't it? Let's bring the brightness down. Oh no, it's reset it. That's the problem with it though, you know, like it does reset. So brightness down, saturation down a tiny bit, and then opacity down. There you go. And again, it just kind of looks like less of a color on the eye and more like a Vaseline or something on the eye, perhaps something like that. Okay, the lip that I used is this first one, which is just this really cute little sparkly effect, and again just going in and picking a kind of orangey color, and then just playing around with the brightness and the saturation to get something that just feels, again, just a little bit more natural, a little bit more summery, something like that. And back again to the kind of like almost like she's caught the sun a little bit on her nose. So oopsie daisy, going over like this and going to this, and yeah, pretty much doing the same thing that you've seen me do already. Saturation down a little bit, darkness down, and just creating that kind of like I've caught the sun a little bit because I've been having a nice picnic effect, and I think that's quite a nice young look. I kind of like it without the eyeshadow as well, but just adding that eyeshadow I think makes it look a little bit younger, a little bit trendier, and I think that's a really cute young fresh faced look. And again, just to kind of show you before and afters and some of the variety there that you can do with this pack. Okay, but I do want to check it on different skin tones. So jumping over to Romy Bergeron. So talking a little bit about The Sims as well. So Ellie Inkwell, she's a student. She just loves studying. She loves research, debate. She is academic, overachiever, an idealist, and she is generous. She wants to do some good in the world. So she actually wants to be a teacher. She wants to teach young children in the future. Romy is also kind of children orientated, but in a very different way. I would say she is borderline tradwife vibes. She's very into cooking, so she has the successful lineage and foodie traits. She also has perfectionist and self-absorbed. So her whole thing is she wants to kind of be the perfect mother. She wants to kind of be a stay-at-home mum, but she wants to be really glam while she's doing it, and she wants everybody to see how good she is at doing it. So she has like her own TikTok, her own Instagram, where she does food videos. She's definitely inspired by a real-life creator who I don't remember the name of, but like her toddler will go in and be like, "Mum, I want waffles for breakfast," and so she goes and makes the waffles from scratch. You know, she'll go out and like get the eggs from the garden to make her kid waffles. So that's the vibe. It's kind of like she wants to do everything perfect, and but she wants to look good doing it, and she wants people to see her looking good and being perfect. So like very much like the bold glamour filter was invented by her. Again, I've gone for kind of like a standard influencer look to her. So she has this kind of neutral toned outfit. It's kind of skin tone, which I think is popular with like the Kardashians, and then she has kind of like the perfect influencer face, so snatched what they called eyebrows. She has those gorgeous cat eyes. She's got a tiny little nose and then big plump kind of pillowy lips. She's definitely had a bit of filler, guys. She also has, again, I don't like to make actually perfect Sims, so she has a little bit of a birthmark that she tries to hide with her hair, so it's quite hard to see under there, but again, I just wanted to give her something a little bit interesting about her face. And honestly, she's gorgeous without makeup, but let's have a look at some of the makeup looks on her. So again, we're going to see a very different look on her, which is this, which again feels like the bold glamour makeup filter on TikTok. So this is using this gorgeous eyeshadow here. So let's try and recreate this look. Pretty much does what it says on the tin. I don't think I changed this very much. I think this is the one that I used here for her. And then one of the eyeliners, I think I used one of the really bold ones. Yep, let's go for that there. I didn't use any eyelashes on any of these Sims, just to let you know. This one here, what did I do with this? Let's try and see if I can recreate what I did with this one here. Let's see. I think something like that it might have been, actually. I don't think I did very much that was different with that. It's really cute as well because it has a little bit of pink on the tip of her nose, which I think stands out more on her skin tone. It's more noticeable. Going over here, which lipstick did I use? This one. It's so beautiful, this lipstick, and this is one of the ones that I think look really good on darker skin tones. One thing that I found in the past was that a lot of the makeup, especially when we originally got the game, before we got all like the sliders so that we could adjust the tone of things, we used to have really bad makeup options for darker skin tones. Like it would almost look drawn on and there would be really harsh edges, and it just didn't look realistic and it didn't look good. So I know a lot of CC creators have been creating like items like this, which do look good on basically Sims of any colour. Because what they do is they overline the lip slightly, and even if it's meant to be a nude lip, the entire lip surface will have a color on it with the lipstick, so that you don't have the color of the lip underneath bleeding through and creating those harsh edges. So this effect of like overlining the lips just creates lipsticks that work on all skin tones so much better. And I love the shading on this as well, how it gets darker towards the edges, lighter in the middle. It looks realistic, it looks beautiful, it just looks good on every Sim. I think that might be the one that I used on her. Yeah, I didn't even change very much on her. So going over here as well to face paint, this is the one that I used for her. This is what's kind of like brightened up her complexion and just kind of like lifted the kind of center of her face. Again, very bold glamour filter, very influencer style. So just I'm going to tone it down a little bit. Again, if you found that to be too bright for her skin tone, you could go ahead and kind of like play around with the saturation and the brightness and just make that a little bit darker. But I normally find the opacity will get me to a point that I think I quite like. So it's not exactly the same, but that is more or less how I created this makeup effect on her, using of course Cryptic Sims beautiful not CC, it's in the game, so it's official content. It's OC. Also, if you are purchasing this kit from the EA app, please use Cryptic Sims creator code, because I think all the credit deserves to go to the creator of the pack. Having said that, I do have a giveaway code courtesy of the EA Creator Network. Thank you so much to them. And one lucky viewer will be able to redeem the code for this pack. It's fastest fingers first. You can go to the EA app, hit the redeem code button and redeem the code that is on screen now. The person who does it first is going to be the winner. It's a one-time use code. If you're not 18, please ask parents' permission before you redeem the code, and no purchase necessary. You do need the Sims 4 base game to use this kit, but the Sims 4 base game is currently free on the EA app. I think that's everything I need to say. Congratulations to the winner. If you do win, or if you see the pack is redeemed, let us know in the comments. Just save other people from going out there trying to get it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and remove that makeup. Again, this is the clear skin look, and I'm going to show you a very different style on her. So boom, very different look. Kind of feels almost late 80s, early 90s. It's a very bold look, but I think it really works. I think it's super cute. I really love these face details on her, these kind of freckles. And again, this look was super simple to do. I just went ahead and used this blue eyeshadow. It's right here. She's using this eyeliner, which is kind of the really bold cat eye look. She's using this blush here with an ever so slightly kind of coral color to match the lipstick, and then I think I did go in and give her a bit of a custom lip color here. Was it that one? Possibly. Yeah, no, I think I went in and just kind of like lightened up the saturation on this and the lightness, just to create something that kind of looked a little bit more fun, a little bit more bold. So yeah, that is pretty much what I did with that. Let me just go back to the original color. There we go. Yeah, so I think again, like, to see the different looks that you can create, like this makeup look is extremely different from that makeup look, and that makeup look is extremely different from the makeup looks that I've done on this sim. So yeah, just the variety that you can get already I think is really beautiful and stunning. And again, different skin tones, different face shapes, there's something for everybody. Having said that, with Claire Chan, I wanted to create something that felt influenced by Asian fashion trends. So kind of like the Korean fashion trends, Chinese fashion trends, Japanese fashion trends, where instead of having that winged up effect, you get more of a kind of like puppy eye effect. I just wanted to see how flexible it was at doing different trends. The first makeup effect that I did on Claire was this one, which is a very bold, bright effect. It's not my favorite look, but I do quite like that eyeliner on her. I'll just quickly flick through, so if you do like this look yourself, you can see specifically which ones I used. There and there. It's okay, it's not my favorite, it's not what I was going for. And again, I do feel like this pack is leaning a little bit more to kind of like Western trends of kind of like American music scene, TikTok, Instagram, but kind of like the Western side of makeup tutorials. But I will show you what I was able to do in just a second. Let me just explain Claire Chan. So she is really into spooky things. She loves reading horror books, she loves reading spooky ghost stories. She's a bookworm, and she kind of lives in her own dark fantasy world in her own mind. This unfortunately makes it hard for her to kind of make friends in real life. She's a little bit socially awkward. You know, she likes talking about ghosts and spooky things, and not everybody shares those hobbies and interests. So she's a little bit of, she doesn't want to be a loner, but she kind of lives in her own fantasy world with her own fantasy characters. Going over then to the makeup look that I did like for her, this is what I was able to do. So showing you the difference between this and this. Now, I did have to dive into some other packs to create this makeup effect. So I just kind of want to talk you through and show you what I did to create this look, if this is something that you're wanting to do. So I didn't use an Essential Glam eyeshadow. I've used this MAC eyeshadow here in a very peachy effect. Next up, I went for, instead of the Essential Glam, I went for this My Wedding Stories eyeshadow, which has more of the kind of Asian beauty trend style, where instead of flicking up, it kind of flicks down or out. So if that's something that you're wanting, that is the pack to use. However, I have used Essential Glam for some of the cheek effects and some of the highlighters. What I tried to do here with this was create more of a kind of like pale pinky rose petal glow to her skin, rather than the kind of slightly more kind of like yellowy undertone that she has here. So you can really see the difference in her skin color, and again, I think this is more reflective of Asian beauty trends and kind of what I see when people are trying to do more of that kind of doll like look. So yeah, I was able to do that with this face paint here, just again by going in, fiddling around with the few filters, fiddling with the hue and the saturation until I got something that was more of that pinky color, and the same with the cheeks, and I think I was able to do that. I was quite happy with that effect. Now, one thing I really love in the Essential Glam Kit are these jelly lips, which I think do really look like the kind of lip style that you see in Korean makeup trends. So to show you kind of how I did this, I mean, it's great out of the box. I mean, that just with no other makeup and just those lips, I think looks so pretty. But going in and doing something a little bit more pink, so again, just playing around with the saturation, playing around with the brightness until I get something that I'm kind of happy with. I think I went for something ever so slightly more orangey in hue, and then playing around with the opacity filter there. Again, just getting something that felt just the right color, like quite a light kind of pastel-y colour, again influenced by kind of like rose petals almost, and that is kind of what worked for me there. And that's probably one of my favourite looks with this pack, I'm gonna be honest. Okay, jumping into, because we've done some girly styles, I want to jump into a style that's a little bit more androgynous now, a little bit more edgy. So rather than being kind of girly glam, I thought, is this something I can do for Sims who want to be a little bit more dark and mysterious? So Ren Beretta, they, them, is a rap star. They're a musical artist. So they've got musical genius. They're into singing, rapping, DJing. I wish we actually had rap in the game. I think that would be really cool. They are a music lover, but they're also skeptical and hot-headed. Now, I'm going to say that they're kind of anarchistic in their music style, so definitely thinking about like Ren, the rapper, who has a lot of things to say about you know, social situations and politics and kind of things like that in his music, and also rappers like, or singers, sorry, like Skunk and Nancy. The band Skunk and Nancy really did kind of influence the style of Ren Beretta, and again Beretta because they shoot their words, you know, and they shoot out those rhymes. But yeah, the kind of skeptical hot-headedness is kind of what fuels those kind of aggressive rap songs that Ren is known for. My Ren, not Ren the actual rap artist, although I love his work. So you can see Ren has kind of an androgynous street style, definitely influenced by the band Skunk and Nancy. And again, I wanted to do something that looked a little bit tough with this pack. So jumping in, and again, like looking at one of the darker skin tones, like what does this pack look like on darker skin? So going over here to the first look, I've created something that it does feel quite glam, but I really like the pointiness of the eyeshadow. And it just, what I was trying to do here was just kind of lift the skin tone to just make the skin tone look like it had a bit more definition and a bit more interest. I was actually trying to do a bit of an undertone, and I think it's taken it from this very kind of flat look to something that feels a little bit more lifted. Again, I know that kind of in black beauty trends, people use oil or highlighter on the skin to give their skin that beautiful glow, and that is something that I was trying to do here with Ren. One thing that I do wish we had was more highlighter or kind of contouring that comes all the way up onto the head. So having something that kind of lifts the center of the forehead and then shades around, I think would be a really nice thing to see in the future, just so that I get this sense of kind of like highlight across the entire face. The eyeshadow that I've used here is this one here, which is just this kind of like sparkle on the eye. So jumping over here, I can kind of show you how I've done this. I've just gone in with kind of one of the lighter tones, I think. Which one have I done? Maybe that one, and then like much less saturated, a little bit brighter, I think, and then moving the opacity down, and you get this feeling of like just a very clear glitter effect on the eyelids rather than having any color, which is one of my favorite things about some of the items in this pack. So you can see there how that is quite similar, and then just going in and applying these dramatic spiky looking eyeliner effects is really nice. So the skin glow I did with some of the highlighters. Let me just double check which one I used. This one here. So jumping down there, you can see it already has a bit of a tint to it, already has a bit of colour to it. So going in, and I think I used this one, and then I kind of made it look a little bit more like bronzy, so a little bit less saturated, perhaps a little bit darker, and then bringing the opacity down, which just creates that glow effect, which I think is really quite stunning. Maybe it's a little bit more saturated than what I've done there, but again, you can just kind of play around with it until you get it to something that you like. Which cheek effect did I use? This one here. So again, this is really going to kind of like lift and create that glow effect. And again, you can just kind of go in and play around until you get something that you're happy with. That's a little bit too red, so again, I'm going to bring that saturation down. I'm going to play around with the hue and just create something that's a little bit more of a gold color. And that is pretty much similar to how I had it, I think. Opacity down a little bit. One thing I would say when you're playing with the opacity is sometimes you can see how it's not blending too nicely. It does create a little bit of a like a staggered effect on the on the skin. You can see this kind of lines almost. Again, it's one of those things where you just keep playing around until you get it in a way that you like, and you know, it's just a bit of a tried and tested kind of thing. It is a problem generally with the game, with like some of the makeup effects on darker skin tones, that you do get that kind of I don't even know how to describe it. It just doesn't blend smoothly, which I think is a bit of a shame. I'd love to see that, you know, continue to be improved. But yeah, that's pretty much what I did with her face there. And then again, back to the, again, just kind of showing you the before and after there of that makeup effect. Again, I wanted something that felt a bit meaner, a bit edgier. So the other effect that I did with her was, sorry, them. If I do say her instead of they, them, I'm so sorry. It's just a trip of the tongue. I am trying to be representative. I do intend for Ren to be they, them, and have this almost androgynous look. If I do slip up, I do apologize. But yeah, you can really see this one looks really quite hard. It looks edgy, it looks really cool, so I absolutely love this effect. And again, just showing you the difference there, just definitely album cover energy. So what have I used for this? So this is the one that I wanted to talk about at the beginning of the video. So this one is a really unusual one because the colors in the center of the eye, but what it's doing here is creating this kind of shadowy effect where it's just making her gaze look a little bit more intense. So again, just showing you the difference there. So I think this is a really nice way to use it. Again, if you wanted to lighten up the inner section of the eye and use it that way, you could do, but I actually really like this dark color. I think it just creates a more broody look to the face, a more angular, almost more masculine look to the face. Which eyeliner have I used? I think I've used a really thick one. Yeah, really dramatic and bold, just looks so cool. Going down here, the lips I think is a bit of a star point. I think what I did here was I used the lips as they come, pretty much. And then I think I actually went ahead and made them even darker. So I think I may have brought the saturation down a little bit more and the brightness down, which creates this really dark kind of lacquer effect on the lips, which again is almost black, but you can see how it nicely blends with the skin tone, especially on the kind of lower lip. I think it just looks really complementary. Really, really nice effect. They look so badass. I love it. And then again, just adding a little bit of color to the cheeks, just to create some interest. Which one did I use? That one there. Just to give a bit of a sense of the colour underneath her skin coming through, you know, maybe a little bit of blush, you know, they, them. Oh my goodness. I don't know why I'm tripping up so much on this today. Like, they're dancing around on stage. They're giving that really angry, angsty rap song. You know, they're going to be getting a little bit hot, a little bit flustered. And so the idea of this was just to give a little bit of redness coming through underneath. Again, playing around with the opacity and things like that there. Just a little bit of a flush, a little bit of colour to the face. But yeah, I love this. Again, this is one of my favourite looks. I think this sim looks badass. Very, very, very pleased with this look. And again, all thanks to Cryptic Sims and this beautiful kit that we've been provided with. So going over to Harry Key, again, I wanted to see what the makeup looked like on guys, because I do notice a lot more men embracing definitely kind of like shading, bronzer, highlighter, and creating more shadow and depth to the face. I do think men are doing this more and more. And so I wanted to kind of play around and see what this looks like on a more masculine guy, you know, who does want to just create a little bit of depth and interest to their face. So he's a bit of a rogue. I've been playing with a lot of rogue characters with like D&D type stuff, so that was what I was in the mood for. So he's got this big scar on his face. He's a seeker of secrets. He's shady. He's romantic and a kleptomaniac. He's going to steal your heart. I've given him a slightly almost Japanese look. He kind of feels a little bit like, you know, the guy out of Mulan. He's like the leader of the warriors, right? The leader of the army in Mulan. That's kind of the stylization of the face that I was trying to do, and definitely looking into kind of, again, it's sort of Asian kind of culture and some of the trends that come from that direction. Yeah, let's see what his makeup looks are. So again, I'm not going for like an actual like full-on glam makeup with him. I'm just looking for some depth and some edginess. So what I've got here is this first look, which I think is super cute. Again, a bit flustered, a little bit of pink, a little bit of blush coming onto his cheeks there. And so I've used this kind of like moly effect to give his face some interest, just a little bit more character to his face. I think the cheeks that I've used, so the makeup doesn't show up, but if you take off the masculine tag, you do get access to them. So again, just play around with the tags and the filters just to access more content than, you know, what is obviously apparent. But this is this one here, which is the let me just flick back here to show you. Again, it just looks like a very like a flushed face, like a natural flush. I like how it sits underneath his cheekbones. And again, just playing with the opacity there to make it a little bit more subtle, just adds a bit more colour, a bit more character to his face. What else have I done? And then again, this is one of the ones where when I first saw it, I was kind of like, what am I supposed to do with this? But it's the one where the colour's on the inner eye. So showing you again, I think it suits him really, really nicely. It just creates a bit of shading on the inner eye. I think I made it a bit more grey, again, by playing around with the opacity filters and just making it look a little bit more subtle. But you can see this shading on the inner eye, which I think is really fun. I would love to get that as like a blush rather than an eyeshadow, but you know, sell like a nose contouring kit. It would be really, really cool. I just think that looks badass. I think it looks really, really fun. Going over again, did I use anything else? I think I used one of the eyeliners. Yeah, it's one of the more subtle eyeliners that I've put on him. Just again to give him a bit more of an intense brooding look. But yeah, I think that looks really super cool. And then to create a completely, well, not a completely different effect, but another effect that really suits kind of more masculine Sims if you want to create more definition and interest to the face, is this one here, where I really like the inner eye on this one. It almost looks like, you know, when you cry, or you know, maybe he's been going through some dust and some rubble and he's got some eye irritation, you know, like the inner kind of tear ducts of your eye get a little bit red. So to create that effect, I've gone ahead and used again this eyeshadow here, but in a much more kind of like, I think is it that one? What have I actually done here, guys? I think it's this one, but in like a red color. Let me just try it. So going over here and then going to, is it that? Or is it, hang on, wait. I've forgotten how I've done it. No, do you know what I think this is? I think this is the face paint. I think this is this here in a really, really reddy color. Let me just try that. So going in and then really upping the saturation. Yeah, that's how she did it. So you can see how it creates the blush on the what's it called, the cheekbone here, and then that kind of like red effect on the inner eye as well. So again, making that a little bit darker perhaps. Yeah, and then what do I want to do here? Bring the opacity down a little bit perhaps. The only thing I would say about this is it actually has a little bit of redness on the nose as well, so it doesn't look good on every single sim. I think he gets away with it just because he's got the scar, so it almost looks like he's bumped his nose or he's got a bit of scarring on his nose. I think it is intended to be a highlighter. So if I just show you this on Ren, so the same effect, well, the same makeup but a different effect. If we go in here, you can see that you can use this more as like a highlighter to highlight the inner eye, the nose tip, the nose bridge, and the cheekbones. But you can see how I've created a very, very different effect over here, which I think works really, really nicely. And then again, yeah, so I've just gone ahead and used that kind of dark eyeshadow in the center of his eye again, and I think I've used an eyeliner. I think I used a different eyeliner for this one. I wanted something a bit more smoky, so I actually went for I think it was one of these ones. Which one was it? She'll find it eventually. Let me flick back and look. This one here. Okay, this one. And then again, just kind of like brought the opacity down to make it a little bit more subtle, a little bit less of a clear line. There we go. And then I think I even went ahead and gave him some lip color here, just again to make it look like he's been out in the cold. His lips are a bit red and a little bit bothered. And I think I went ahead and used one from a different kit. And do you know what? I know which one it was. It was the Life and Death one, in a kind of red color. A little bit less saturated, a little bit less bright, and then the opacity kind of all the way down like that, which just gives him a little bit of color to his lips. And I just think he looks really interesting. You know, his face definitely has a little bit more character now. So again, this is before and then this is after, and just some of the makeup effects that you can do there just to create some variety of faces, so not every two Sims looks the same. So yeah, this pack is really, really versatile actually. Really flexible. You can do a lot of different makeup effects, and again, if you think something's a little bit too bold, you can go ahead and play around with it and create something that feels perhaps a little bit more suitable. So again, bringing the darkness down, you know, already there I've created a very, very different effect. So, you know, I think it does speak to the versatility of the pack, that you can play around with it to such an extent and create all these different looks, because I think it's just very, very flexible. Again, bringing perhaps the saturation up on that one, brightness down, and yeah, you just, play around with it. So again, if you get it and you're kind of like, wow, that's really bold, I can't see myself ever using that specific one, you just go in and you play around, and eventually, this is kind of what I mean. You see, like sometimes when it has kind of a thick kind of saturated edge, it doesn't blend very well with the skin around, but I think this pack does it a lot better than some of the older packs, where, like for example this one, you can almost see the edge of the lip color coming through. It doesn't quite work properly, so some lipsticks do it better than others, but yeah, I'm really happy because it's nice to have things that look good on the darker skin tones, like that one, like with the eyeshadow. That's fire. That looks amazing. I kind of want to give her a bit of a blush now to kind of warm up her skin tone as well. So yeah, the amount of playing around that I've done with this pack already, and the amount of different makeup looks that I've been able to do with it has been pretty incredible. Definitely encourage you to play around with the sliders and just be a little bit bold, be a little bit daring. See if, I'm gonna have to save that one, I really like that effect. See if there's anything you can do, you know, that's out of your comfort zone, and I think you'll be surprised actually about the versatility of this pack. And again, I've used all different skin tones, all different skin colors, so let's try and do a different look for her here. So maybe we want to go for something that's maybe a little bit, let's try and do something that's kind of pink and girly on her. Again, just to kind of close out the video. Oh, hang on, I kind of like that with the green, but I'm gonna make it more, I'm gonna make it a bit lighter. No, I'm not. I'm gonna make it definitely more opaque. I don't know, you can just create some like really interesting looks, just. And I've been really surprised actually at how versatile the pack has been, because like I knew it was going to be an interesting one, but I thought it was going to be really, I actually thought it was going to look really good on darker skin tones and be that kind of like very glam Beyonce bold glamour look. And then I've used it in so many different ways. I've been really impressed by it. Just the amount of different like makeup looks that I've been able to do. So I do really like this one on her. Yeah, I'm just so tempted to go for that one again. Maybe this one, but ever so slightly more orangey, just because I think the orange is nice with the green. And then maybe bring the opacity down a bit. Though it's so pretty, a little bit brighter, a little bit more saturated. I just think it's really cute. I actually think darker but more saturated. Yeah, and just playing around until you get something that you're happy with. I've had so much fun with this pack, and literally I've been doing this for hours now, and I'm just keep ending up doing more and more and more. I am obsessed with this pack. So thank you so much to Cryptic Sims for creating this wonderful pack. I love it so much. Thank you to the Sims team for, I guess, commissioning this pack, because I really think we did need a really decent makeup kit. I think it was a really good call, and yeah, leave me to it because I want to keep playing. I'm going to be doing this all night. I'm actually going to finish creating their outfits for all the different outfit categories, and once I'm done I will upload them to the gallery. So if you want to steal their makeup looks or play with them yourselves, you can absolutely do that. And thank you so much for watching. Congratulations to the person who won the code, and I will see you again soon, friends. Bye.